Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So this is the last part for our chapter 4, and in this part we're going to learn about the microorganisms that are present in water. This is the table of content of what we're going to learn today in this part. So we're going to have a look at the introduction of some of the microorganisms that are present in the water, the adaptations on how they survive, on how they adapt their system, their size, so that they are able to survive in the water environment, how they disperse themselves, the functions of the microbes in the water, and the effects of the microbes in the water, and also some of the examples of the microbes in the water that cause diseases to human mostly. So the water microbiology, meaning that the study of the microorganisms in the water, and these microorganisms in the water, they can be transported from one place to another by the water. So for example, in the fresh water, these are the examples of some of the microorganisms, okay? And the microorganisms, they are in a different characteristics. Some of them are the photosynthetic, meaning that they can do their own food, they can make their own food, or some of them are aerobic microorganisms, which they need oxygen for them to grow. And some of them are anaerobic, which means that they do not need oxygen for them to grow, and also the methane producing bacteria, where these type of bacteria, they produce the methane, and also they can survive in the absence of the oxygen. So they are also the anaerobic. That's the fresh water. Meanwhile, for the salt water, the environment is different because we are dealing with a higher salt concentration, and when we talk about the salt concentration, it involves the pH value as well. So in the previous parts, we have learned about the extremophiles, the type of microorganisms that can survive and thrive in the extreme environment. And those microorganisms that can survive in a high salt concentration is what we call as halophilic. So they love salts and they can survive the salt water. Adaptations of water microbes. In order for them to survive in the water, it doesn't matter whether they are the fresh water or any marine environments, they have to adapt to that environment so that they can survive. So some of the adaptations that they have made to themselves is they have a very small size. So when they have a small size, it is easier for them to uptake any nutrient, and it's easy for them to grow quickly. And then they can adhere to the surfaces because they are small, so any type of surfaces they can adhere to that. And when they can successfully adhere to any surfaces, they can absorb any organic matter so that they can use that for their growth. How microbes disperse in the water. So we know that there are a lot of microbes that can be dispersed in the water. So let's have a look at some of them. Yeah? So we can see that through animals, through human, through water droplets, through animal creature, and also through the behavior of the human itself, the anthropogenic activity. Okay, so the microbes in the water, first they can be dispersed through the fur and also the saliva of the animal. And then for human, when we wash our hands, or from our saliva, or even our skin when we touch the water, okay, then the water will be contaminated with that particular bacteria, and then it will be transported to other places. Rain. So rain also can disperse the microbes in the water, because it will wash out the microbes on the soil to the river. And then kalau kita minum air river tu, then kita dah contaminated. Aquatic animals, so it's in their guts. Okay, so daripada situ, because they are already in the water, and then bila in their guts ada infected with the microorganisms, especially the bad microorganisms, and then kita pun tangkap aquatic animal, and then kita makan, tapi kita tak basuh betul-betul ke, kita tak bersihkan, kita tak masak betul-betul, then it will cause diseases, okay, to the human activity. When we throw rubbish in the drain, river and sea, and when we do experiment using the microbes but not following the right rules. Okay, so this is very important, because dekat dalam microbiology lab, you have to really listen to your lecturer, listen to your lab assistant on how to dispose the bacteria. Okay, jangan senang-senang lah semua buang dekat dalam sinki je. Functions of water microbes. So walaupun it shows that macam water microbes ni banyak sangat lah benda yang jahat kan, but some of them they have a very beneficial and helpful functions. Okay, so for example, it is an indicator for fecal contamination in the water body. So bila macam ada banyak fecal contamination dekat dalam sesuatu water body tu, so nanti microbes memang akan banyak berkumpul dekat situ lah, because a lot of nutrients from that fecal tu, feces tu. So nanti from there, nanti when they have a lot of microbial growth, then we will know that, oh okay, there's something wrong with this water body. So another way is the water microbes, because they will cause the disease to the consumer. Okay, walaupun kita nampak macam benda ni adalah suatu benda yang jahat lah kan, because disease kan membuatkan orang sakit, but then it tells us that whatever the person minum ataupun makan prior to that disease, it means that food or drink is contaminated with microbes. Jadi kita boleh tahulah, kita boleh maybe tutup tempat tu, bersihkan tempat tu, saman orang tu. Play an important role in the food chain. Okay, so dekat dalam marine environment, water microbes pun sebenarnya is very helpful. Okay, dia diperlukan sebagai the primary producer in the food chain, also as the decomposer in the nutrient cycling. So it's not just the microbes in the soil ke, okay, yang microbes in the air yang ada function as the decomposer in the nutrient cycling, but also microbes in the water as well. They are responsible in cycling the nutrient and also act as the decomposer. Besides that, they can also be useful for the treatment of the wastewater. Okay, so ini macam bioremediation jugalah, because we use the microbes that are available in the water, and they can treat the waste. Effects of water microbes. Okay, so this is the bad side, the bad microbes. Okay, so the bad microbes in the water that causing disease to the human mostly. Okay, so let's see. So the first one is what we call the traveler's diarrhea. Okay, so nama traveler's diarrhea. So usually it infects the traveler lah. Okay, so kalau traveler tu mungkin sebab dia tak biasa dengan the water, the food dekat tempat yang dia travel tu. Okay, so these are the symptoms. Memang is very common. Okay, and nama pun diarrhea, so usually memang abrupt onset of passage of 3 or more loose stool a day. Memang diarrhea lah. Second one is Salmonellosis. Okay, jadi for the next few effects of water microbes ni, kita boleh nampak tau, because we are talking about the microbes in the water, and then water tu kita minum kan, either minum ataupun makan kan. So dia memang kebanyakan of the disease tu dia akan affect our intestinal tract. Okay, so banyak kita punya bahagian usus, kita punya bahagian perut. Okay, so memang kebanyakannya akan menyebabkan diarrhea lah, mostly but not all. Okay, so for example Salmonellosis ni, okay, dan daripada nama Salmonellosis we know that the bacteria responsible for that disease is the Salmonella punya species, and it affects the intestinal tract. So macam mana boleh dapat Salmonellosis ni? Drinking water can be contaminated with humans, and wild or domestic animals leave their droppings in or near surface water surfaces. So be careful bila kat situ ada kita tahu ada banyak binatang ke so the water body tu kena be careful lah. Third one is typhoid fever. Okay, typhoid fever ni memang is quite the scary punya disease because this is life threatening illness. So usually memang kebanyakannya memang akan selalu causing death lah. Alright, so dia punya bakteria yang cause the typhoid fever ni is Salmonella typhi. Okay, so dia Salmonella typhi ni memang kita kena makan dia, consume dia, barulah macam dia akan cause disease. Kalau macam sikit-sikit macam tu mungkin tak lah. So usually kita akan paling tu kita demam and headache, and then ni muscle ache. Tu memang very common lah untuk typhoid fever. Cholera. Okay, so cholera is another type of disease yang it causes the human to infected with the cholera to have a diarrhea. Okay, so usually macam biasa dia the causes tu because he or she drinks the contaminated water or by eating improperly cooked fish. Okay, so bagi siapa-siapa yang macam suka makan sushi tu, just be careful. Okay, because sushi tu sometimes ada yang memang dia masak fully, ada yang dia masak macam sikit-sikit kan, macam tu. So just be careful. Ada orang yang tak tahan perut dia, okay, ataupun the management of the fish tu by the vendor, by the kedai tu, whether they store the fish tu properly or not. If they don't keep or store the fish properly, then that's why the bacterial growth tu makin banyak. Okay, air kotor Hepatitis A. Okay, so hepatitis A ni dia memang akan affect kita punya liver. So it's a liver disease. So usually dia senang nak dapat hepatitis A ni where poor sanitary conditions or where personal hygiene is very poor. Okay, so hepatitis A ni is a virus, it's not a bacteria. Okay, the next few slides after this will be the examples of the bacteria lah yang causing disease tu. Okay, so the first one is the coliform bacteria. So coliform bacteria ni this is the dia punya karakteristik lah, tetapi daripada diagram ni sebenarnya total coliform bacteria ni dia ada beberapa kategori. So the first one is total coliform, the second one is fecal coliform, and the third one is E. coli. Okay, so total coliform ni dia maksudnya the coliform bacteria they are already present dekat tempat itulah, sama ada dekat soil, water or the plants. So that's the total coliform bacteria. However, the second category is the fecal coliform, is the fecal coliform bacteria that are mostly in the feces. So they are the fecal contamination. And the last one is the E. coli. So E. coli is, I'm sorry. So sebenarnya coliform bacteria ni dia ada dua kategori sahaja, iaitu sekejap ya. Okay, dia ada dua kategori sahaja, iaitu total coliform and also the fecal coliform. So sebenarnya E. coli ni adalah the example of the coliform bacteria, yang mana dia ni adalah total coliform as well as the fecal coliform. Giardia lamblia. Okay, so ini caused by the protozoa lah dekat dalam intestine, and they are resistant to chlorine. Jadi kalau macam contohnya dekat dalam swimming pool tu kan, letaklah banyak mana chlorine pun, sebenarnya protozoa ni dia resistant, so dia still ada. So commonly transmitted from drinking water or the recreational water, so kena be careful lah. Jadi macam contohnya kalau swimming pool dekat hotel ke, ataupun water park kan, kat mana-mana yang ada berkaitan dengan main-main air tu, so sepatutnya the park management tu dia ada extra management dia lah. It's not just chlorine, tapi mesti kena something else so that it can fight off the protozoa. Cryptosporidium, so ini dia memang sama juga dekat small intestine ataupun respiratory tract, and sama juga dia resistant to chlorine. Okay, so susah kan, because microbes ni dalam water, so we thought that we can cure them or we can fight them off with the chlorine, tapi sebenarnya tak, dia orang memang resistant, so we have to take extra precautions. Form cysts that are excreted in feces or through inhalation of cough. Jadi macam contohnya kan, dia tengok dekat feces tu, dekat najis kita tu ada cyst, wujud dapat keluar, tapi because it is telling us that in our body ada protozoa tu. Shigellosis or bacillary dysentery. Okay, so ini yang memang intestinal pathogens of humans and primates. So kena berhati-hatilah. Jadi drinking macam biasa, drinking water contaminated with feces. Okay, memang jadi kita boleh nampak lah dalam beberapa disease ni kan, yang microbes in water ni memang most of them dia akan infect kita punya intestine. Okay, dan sebenarnya causes dia adalah contaminated water. So just be careful whenever you dahaga sangat macam mana pun, please be careful, tengok source of water tersebut. The next one is the Clostridia. So Clostridia ni serious infection, diarrhea, tetanus. Okay, so contohnya ini Clostridia perfringens dengan Clostridia tetani ni memang dia sangat popular lah. Okay, dalam Clostridium punya genus ni untuk dia bagi disease tersebut. So therefore, alert of our surrounding and do the study. Learn about microbes, because tiny microbes are powerful creatures that spread diseases. Love yourself and take care of your health. So these are some of the students that helped me with the content of this chapter, and therefore thank you.